Hello everybody, my name is Naren Kacharu and I lead the AI business for Google Cloud in India. It's been an incredible year for us, especially for the generative AI side of the world. A recent Google study showed that over 80% of decision makers think that generative AI has the potential to transform their industry. And 81% feel that there's an urgency to adopt this technology now. With that in mind, we have forged a partnership with Startup India and Ministry of IT, Government of India, with a vision to make Indian developers the finest in the world. We have collaboratively created a unique Gen AI business hackathon for developers called the Gen AI Exchange Hackathon. In order for us to set the vision on what are the business problems that Gen AI can solve, we have invited the Chief Product and Technology Officer of Network18 on this podcast, Mr. Sunil Sharma. Sunil, good to meet you.
Thank you, Naren. Thank you, Naren, for the warm welcome and the kind words. I'm glad to be part of this initiative. In terms of what we are doing or in context of generative AI, I think pretty powerful tool for content producers, and we being in a publishing business, creating content is our bread and butter. So we have introduced generative AI or various use cases into our content production workflows. So whether it is text content creation, whether it is video on text side, for example, translations, summarizations, paraphrasing, short story creations, or whether it's around meta tagging, title generations. So a host of these use cases is where we have started experimenting with generative AI. At some places we have scaled, at some places we are still looking to improve the accuracy. In addition to that, on the video side, we are looking at the voiceovers, finding highlights, creating short videos. And the video, I would say the video side is still in a nascent stage as compared to the progress that we have made on the tech side. But we will go big with adoption of generative AI, right? The second part of your question, which was largely around video misinformation, challenges around that, hurdles, and so on and so forth. So I think on that, I want to go a little back. One needed a set of equipments to produce high quality content. And back then, I guess the challenge that industry faced was around piracy and so on, right? Now, we are in a situation where the powerful tool set that used to be on desktops, required powerful machines, right, is on our handsets. So now everyone is a content creator. Everyone has access to tools where they can use to enrich content. Now in entertainment, information, this is really helpful. For someone like us who is a media or a news publisher, there is a very thin line between information and misinformation, right? You would have seen multiple examples where just by changing the background music, the tone of the story changes. Ideally, we would like to have something which is very similar to a blockchain, right, where you are able to ascertain the veracity and the origin of content through various stages of the content production pipeline till we distribute, right? Which means that every step that we take in the production is essentially verified. But that requires a lot, right? So in terms of technology, in terms of investments, in terms of adoption.
You mentioned a little bit about establishing credentials, and you spoke about blockchain and tech interventions across the life cycle to basically to provide trust and establishing credentials. Can you give us some real world examples of where you think credentials matter the most when it comes to trusting video content? And from a tech standpoint, how do you verify these credentials, especially at the scale that you operate in?
In terms of technology and the solution around it, I think credential verification probably is not is not the starting problem, right? The one to focus on is how do we generate credentials which always comes back to us. We can look at, let's say, some kind of indicator, right? A visual indicator, and say, by the way, this content came from Network18 or News18 or First Post. If a consumer still wants to come back and verify that if the content indeed came from us, we can give them a landing spot and say, hey, by the way, come here, you can check our content, or you can upload your video, and then we'll tell you whether it indeed came from us or not.
I know I started this conversation asking you about video misinformation. Is this a big problem to solve at scale? Is this a problem area that you would want the developers of that we are going to have for this Gen AI hackathon to focus on?
I think the only factor that defines my industry is trust. Our brand is all around, the trust that we are able to create or generate with our consumers. But if there is one problem that kind of can define the industry, I would still put our authentic information and building trust as the top one.
So as teams start to prepare for this hackathon and think about it, how would you weigh both the back-end systems and the AI tech to power the business problem that they're solving for, but also look at some of the front-end capabilities?
I'll pick accuracy and ease of use. If you want this to be adopted, then it has to be fairly simple for the end user as well as the content producer.